Alright, so as you can see there, we went ahead and drilled our holes through the tang of this. So we've got 4 holes through here. The first 3 are going to go through the black G10 section of the scales, and this back one's going to go through the burl wood section of the scales, because we're going to have segmented scales. There's going to be multiple layers and all that, and I haven't exactly decided which pin type we're going to put in these. I think I'm going to play with that once we actually start putting everything together and figuring out which type of pins I'm going to go with, but I haven't exactly decided yet which route I'm going to go. But we went ahead, got those all drilled through there, and that's ready to go. But what we're going to focus on primarily with this episode is going ahead and getting the initial bevels put in here, and then get the heat treat done. So that's the focus. Get the bevels, get the heat treat done, get it tempered, and then on Sunday's episode, we'll probably go ahead and do the finishing of the bevels and the hand sanding, so that we can actually see what this is really going to start looking like. So that's what y'all got looking forward to for this weekend. And we're going to go ahead, get on the 2x72. We're going to use an already worn down belt to cut the initial bevel. So what I'm going to do is just go straight to that center line that we have scribed all the way down here, and I'm going to grind a 45-degree angle all the way down so I can actually define the cutting edge, and that part's done at that point. Then all I got to do is just bring the bevels up as high as I want to go. And I've got a line, you can see it right here. That's how high we're going to bring the bevels up, and it gets closer to the spine as you get up forward. So it's about ½ an inch here, about ¼ of an inch here. So the bevels are the same size all the way down, but the flats get smaller because this blade tapers from larger here to narrower here. And yeah, well, let's go ahead. Let's get into the 2x72. Let's get our bevels going. So one of the things that y'all don't really see me do very often is actually use my work wrist when it comes to doing my bevels. You know, just going ahead and dragging across this and using this to keep everything in one position. Y'all typically see me use my hand as the work rest to do that, but because of how much material I've got to remove for this, the amount of fatigue I would get from doing this the whole entire time would be pretty ridiculous. So I'm going to go ahead and let this help me out, and we're going to slide back and forth until we get to the desired bevel height. But like I said, we're going to start off with a used belt, and we're just going to grind in that 45 to define that cutting edge, and then we'll start feathering it back from there. So get my mask on and start grinding this in. So, before I start really getting into this, I switched to a new belt here, and we're going to start grinding this bevel up higher. So as you can see, we did already grind our 45-degree angle on both sides. But what I'm going to be doing from this point forward is I'm going to start grinding on this actual line here. So I'm going to break this edge. I'm not grinding all the way next to the actual cutting edge, but rather this area here. And I'm going to start bringing this all the way up as high as I want, and then start bringing it in closer to the edge. So just like I did right here, I broke that line, started grinding there. Now I'm going to use that area, and I'm going to keep going by until I bring it up as high as I want and as close to the actual cutting edge as I want. Now, I'm only going to go up so far pre-heat treat because I want to leave a little bit of meat on the bone just in case we have some warping or something like that. I want to still be able to easily straighten this in like a vise or clamps. So I am going to leave a lot of flat, and then post-heat treat, I'll go ahead and finish the bevels, bringing them up the rest of the way. Now you will see I've got my little plunge line here, and I'm starting a second one here. The reason behind that, you can't really see it, but there's a straight line here and an angle line here. You can't really create that angled line. I mean, you can if you just slowly feather it in, but what I'm going to do is just do a straight line all the way down, and then whenever I get done doing my bevels, I'll just come back and just work that plunge line in to put that angle that I want on it. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and get after this and bring these bevels up as far as I need it to go. So as you can see here, we've got it in our straightening jig, which is just a piece of angle iron and a couple of clamps on either end with a little spacer in the center. Now we picked up a very minimal warp, but I figured I would go ahead and correct it now just to make everything exactly how I want it. And what we'll do is let this cool like this for a little bit and then pop it off of here, and if it's nice and straight, we're going to go ahead and clamp it back to the piece of angle iron but without the spacer. And then we're going to put it in our oven in the kitchen because I will not be able to fit this in my little oven that's in the shop that I would typically temper knives in. So we're going to put it in the kitchen oven at about 400 degrees for about an hour and a half and go ahead and temper this back a little bit and make sure it's, you know, a workable sword. After that, we're going to go ahead and go into what the next episode is going to be. So I'm going to temper this and all that stuff off camera because y'all have seen plenty of people temper knives. We're just putting it in an oven at the temp for a certain amount of time, calling it good. But in the next episode, we're going to go ahead and bring our bevels up the rest of the way. And then we're going to do a lot of hand sanding. It is going to be a hand sanding marathon because there's going to be so much of it. So bring our bevels up a little bit. Go ahead and start the hand sanding process and get it to where you can actually see the finish that it's going to be on it and everything. So that's the goal for the next episode. Hopefully y'all are excited about that. I know there's not much to really look at right now, but Sunday, there's going to be a lot to look at. Guys, thank y'all for coming by. If y'all would, give this video a thumbs up, share this video or one of my other videos. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We've got finishing of this. We've got a couple of absolute awesome builds that are going to be coming up. Plus, we have a cable Damascus, the billet that I'm going to be forging out. That's going to be coming up. And I am working on another little project, but this one is going to be purely just shown off on the TRE Workshop Facebook page. I'm going to be just showing them the process of that. So if you're not a part of that, go join it. Guys, thanks for coming by. Thanks for spending your time with me. Y'all have an amazing day. Y'all stay safe out there, and I will catch y'all next time.